wore your bow tie. We can share the story of how we met.
Yeah. So hello, everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour. We have been gathering in this sanctuary over almost a year now since the beginning of this pandemic to love and support each other through this difficult. And you know what? We're getting through it. We're getting through to the other side. Doesn't life just feel a little bit better? You know, but we're not through yet, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be right here. And I'm so excited today to have one of my dear friends, Tanya Sterl, as our guest. And Tanya and I met about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago at a National Speakers Association event. I think it might have been one of her first events. And she sat next to me, and I just thought she was the funniest person I'd ever met in my life. She was so funny, and she had such funny things to say about everything going on. And they weren't mean, they were just funny. And she just had so much, she was just so put together. I thought, I'm so glad I got to sit next to you. And she's told me later, so you see me in a tie today. But I thought, when I knew she was going to be on here as a personal stylist, I said, I have got to put on, and you know what, I got to tell you something. There was something about getting ready and putting on a tie that just lifted my spirits. It just lifted my confidence in myself, sense of self-worth, I guess, in some ways. Yeah. So I want to thank you for just inspiring me, because I know you're going to be my guest today, Tanya. And I just wanted to just say thank you for inspiring me to put on a bow tie, because it just feels great. And it's great to have you here. And we're going to talk a little, I'm going to just turn it over to you, Tanya. I'm just going to let you tell your stories. And I know that some great things that in here for us. And it's really all about how we how we dress and how we look in the world can be a real expression of love for ourselves and self-care. So Tanya, just take it from here, and I'm going to be quiet. And I may ask you a question from time to time. And we got a couple people who comment. Let's take their comments first. Oh, there's my good friend Audrey. You know Audrey, don't you?
Hi, Audrey. I also met Audrey through the National Speakers Association.
Yeah. Oh, she likes my bow ties too. And she's also she is a world of fashion herself. Let me tell you, yes. That is one stylish woman right there. I think she's going to be on Wednesday. I mean, it's Friday, I believe. I got to check my calendar, but I think she's going to be my guest this week. I think so, which would be really cool.
Excellent. So, I would definitely tune in for that conversation.
Yeah. So Audrey, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for saying hello. Anybody else, when you join in, just say hello so we know you're here. Oh, I just see a number on my screen. I want to know who you are. So thank you so much for joining him. And Tanya, and thank you for being our guest today. And what do you want to share with us today about what's going on in your world?
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tanya Sterl. I was a fashion designer for 18 years. I was also a model here in New York City. So I spent 18 years in the fashion industry, and now I work as a personal stylist. So I love showing people how to create a style that really speaks to their uniqueness, their personality, so that they can just look and feel like themselves to the 100th power. Right? For me, style is that ultimate visual expression of oneself. Before someone says a word, before someone introduces, there's these visual cues into who and how we are. I like to say birds have feathers, animals have fur, but we humans, we have clothing, right? So we get to choose our feathers and fur. We get to choose our form of self-expression and how we want to show up and that message we convey. And to your point, that's how you and I met. Out of all the people in that room, there must have been 100 people in that room at the National Speakers Association meeting. And there was just something about you. You were dressed so smart and snappy with that bow tie. And it's not often you see a gentleman in a bow tie.
Yeah.
So your style was that visual cue into like who and how you were, and you stood out. So it's one thing to use our style as a feel-good. It's another thing to use our style as that self-expression. And why not have a little fun with our style and stand out in the way that we're going to stand out? And to your point, you put on that tie this morning and you just, right? You mentioned that it just made you feel different.
It lifted my spirits. And speaking of lifting spirits, and you know, going through what we've gone through, we all have had days when we didn't have, we needed to lift our spirits. So you talk a little bit about style, and you talk about that as a way of self-care and healing. So talk a little bit about how, maybe in your own life, and on how, or the people that you work with, how maybe how they can use style as a way to maybe get out of the blues and get out of the grumpiness that they might be feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is being recorded, the beginning of February of 2021, and we're coming off almost a year of lockdown after COVID. And even for me as a personal stylist who loves fashion, who loves using my style as self-expression, I've used my style as self-expression ever since I was a kid. Like, I used to make 2 Halloween costumes just so I could go out trick-or-treating twice. I used to dye my hair different colors in high school. I would make my own clothes. I was always like my own person, and using style to just express different sides of myself, different personalities, different personas. Like, we can use style to kind of play, right, with our identity as our identity changes or our roles change in life. But last year was a tough year, and me included. Like, my clothes became irrelevant. Like, half my wardrobe became irrelevant. Like, all these fabulous outfits I would wear to events, to my speaking engagements, like, half my wardrobe became irrelevant. And even the form my business was taking at the time, personal brand styling sessions, personal shopping in stores, being in my clients' wardrobes, helping them curate their own wardrobes to speak to their current lifestyle, all that went on hold. Like, I went through my own, like, what's my identity? What am I going to be doing now? I love my work as a personal stylist. So I had to get clever and inventive, and I was able to translate my experience with helping women use their style as self-care and anchoring deeper into a self-care routine through those months of COVID when, we felt shut down, locked down, isolated. Some women were living alone. And how you could just use, we think of our style as like, right? Oh, I'm going to a networking event. Let me put on that bow tie and impress people. But there's also just the joy of dressing for oneself. How can one look at their wardrobe differently and go, what's a color I can put on today that's going to make me feel good? What's a color I can put on that's going to light me up or elevate my mood? What are some cute little like loafers or flats that I haven't worn? I've been styling women. They're like leopard print flats, or I have these cute little velvet loafers I wear at home that have little jewelry. I look down and it's like jewelry for my feet. So I think coming off of a year of lockdown, and I live in New York City, you live on the East Coast, we're still in winter, so we're still a little indoors in lockdown. But for that reason, we're working from home, we're sheltering in place. We become our environment. We become the sofa, we become the couch, we become lazy, we get into that rut. And choosing clothing that's going to lift our mood, elevate our mindset, inspire us, ultimately we're going to inspire others. So I just want to encourage the people listening to ask yourself, what is your vision for yourself this year? What's new for yourself this year? How are you going to kind of rebuild your life? What's your lifestyle looking like? And then how can you dress in a way that's just going to add a little joy, a little spark in your life? Because it's up to each one of us to take that responsibility. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm showing up on networking events and people are like, oh, I love your pink sweater, right? And then a woman's like, oh gosh, I have a pink sweater. Maybe I should wear a pink sweater, right? It starts with us. It starts with us as a feel good. And then all of a sudden, pop, 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 we're inspiring others. And then all of a sudden, collectively, we can start to take care of ourselves again, show up just a little more, vibrant in our own lives and for others.
That's wonderful. And I want to comment a little bit too, because one of the things that all of us are having to do, and you talked about it a little bit in the beginning, I certainly have, is how to rebuild our businesses for the internet. We've all had to look at, and I'm creating, and I'm actually having a lot of fun creating an online business. As a coach and doing my coaching through Zoom and all that sort of stuff. And what we're talking about here is it's kind of waking me up to thinking how we look on Zoom, this is not going to go away. That's what I tell my clients. We have discovered some really good things. We all want to get back where we can give each other a hug. I mean, that's no doubt about it. We do want to get back where we can hug each other. But I do believe that business is going to become functioning on the internet. We're going to see more and more of us coming on the internet. Actually, I enjoy coaching on the internet. I enjoy doing this. It's a really inexpensive way to get our message out there, to get our brand out there, to really do what we do, which is, for me, it's about showing people how to have a wonderful life of prosperity and joy. And I can't think of a better way. And so talk a little bit about how people might want to rethink about as they're rebranding themselves for an internet presence, for a virtual presence on Zoom and various networks, what they might want to think about and how it might help them. Like I said, today for me, I'm coming on here, I'm just feeling vibrant. One, because you just make me feel vibrant. But two, I had to put on a tie. And so there is a shift. I can feel inside me a shift because of what I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, and to your point, Martin, we all had to shift or pivot or expand our businesses to this virtual world. And thank goodness for this virtual world to stay connected. Now, I must admit, I'm an artist at heart. I'm a touchy-feely person. Like, that's why I went into fashion design, right? I was a fashion designer for 18 years because I love to touch the fabrics and cut and drape and sew. I grew up drawing and sketching and dancing and playing cello. Like, my world is visual and tangible. So I have to admit, I had some resistance with thinking how I can translate what I do in person, that personal shopping, going through a woman's wardrobe, doing vision boarding with a woman to define her style, or, with my clients, with people. So I'm grateful for this virtual world to stay connected, but it's been having to be a little creative and clever about what form the business is going to take to stay connected. And that's why, Martin, quite honestly, I'm so grateful you started the contemplative, I always say that funny.
Contemplative prayer
Hour. I'm so grateful you started this because last April, like I said, my business bottomed out. I was a little lost. And I would take my iPhone out to my roof deck and I would join you for your meditation and your power hour since last April. And I mean, you kind of saved my life. Like, you really helped keep me sane and connected, helped me make sense of what I was going through and feeling. I mean, I feel like it was a total crumbling and restructuring of me, my persona, my ego, my place in the world without being around people and in stores and speaking at events. I felt very disconnected from myself and my purpose. So I just wanted to thank you for embracing.
That's why I did this, because, this is it. This is all about stepping into our creative genius. And my guess, I work with a lot of people who are in the creative world, musicians. And so as a teacher of meditation and prayer, as a way to really go into that, find that creative part of yourself without having to, you can expand it into every area of your life as one way to do that. So it makes sense to me. So often when I'm working with someone brand new, I say, well, that flow you step into when you're creating a design, when you're working with a woman to help them, all of a sudden you'll just feel yourself just click in sort of in a funny way. And all of a sudden now you're really getting each other. You're connected to that divine creative spirit. And I think for a lot of us in the world who are like me as a coach and talking to people one-on-one and being in that, I get in that creative zone too. I was like, oh my God, I'm disconnected from my creative genius. I don't know I don't know what to do. And I feel lost. I feel like I'm in the dark, all that kind of stuff. That's why I did this. And so, it makes sense that you would say, okay, now, and then when you come back here or come back into contemplative prayer, hope you do it other than just with me, but I'm glad you're here with me. But when we step into that space, we find our creative power. I do a lot of work in the space with gay, bisexual, and transgender men, and helping them to step into that power, that creative, what I call queer nature, which is which is interesting. That's what we were afraid of because that's what we were made fun of. Yes. But that's where our power is.
Absolutely.
So you got to kind of go through that darkness to get to the light, which you did, which we all did into what I might call a collective dark night of the soul last year. And we had to go in and find alternative ways to connect to that creative genius.
Yes.
And then once we did, then we were, you're still here. I call that person, that part of me, Joy the Wise Woman. You're still here. And then I'm like, okay, now I can. She's there when I'm going to do some work with a client and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, and to your point, I got very creative last year.
I would imagine.
Despite COVID, it was this complete kind of crumbling and destructing of also like behaviors that weren't serving me. Ways that I was such a run, go, do kind of person, and it forced everything to stop and really reprioritize what was important to me in my life, my health, my self-care, my well-being. I took up bird watching. I volunteered for Fort Greene Park to dig in the dirt every Saturday because it was so therapeutic, right? Like this city mouse who loves fashion is also a country mouse and loves nature.
I bet you had some very stylish gloves. You weren't about to get those,
right.
But I bet you had some very stylish gloves to play in that.
Right, exactly. My stylish gardening gloves. But from that creativity and that kind of isolation, I said, again, going back to my gosh, as a personal stylist, if I can't make sense of half my wardrobe, if my identity is being crumbled and questioned, so many people must be going through the same thing. So I started a private Facebook group called Style and Self-Care. Because at a baseline, how we style ourselves, how we style our morning routine, including meditation, yoga, movement, how we style ourselves, our skincare, our makeup can give us that natural glow, to styling our day. Do we need comfort? Do we need an extra boost of confidence? Right? So I call it, we're dressing for this, what I call like downtime, productive time, and showtime. Right? Right now I call this showtime. Yeah. We're on Zoom. We're streaming live. So showing up for virtual networking events, showing up for your how-to videos, showing up for interviews like this, just pause and ask yourself, how do I want to show up? What message do I want to convey? How do I want people to perceive me? What do I want to project? And of all the things we don't have control over, there's a lot of things we don't have control over. And that was one of my big lessons from last year was surrender,
yes,
resiliency, and what can I control or not? And I was like, you know what? I can still control my morning routine. I can control my self-care routine. I can control how I'm taking care of my body, taking care of my health, and I can control what I put on my body. I can choose the clothes to wear today that are going to make me feel good or comforted or confident. And I do have some days. I have some days where I no makeup, wear my pajamas all day. I call that my self-care Sunday, right? We all need a self-care Sunday. We're just stay in the jammies all day, be makeup free. I take a hot salt bath. I do my home facial and my masks. But for events like this, being interviewed by you, Martin, I call it showtime.
Absolutely.
So I got my makeup on. I've got my pretty hot pink color because we are the month of love. So it's about, again, we're coming off this tough year. We're in the East Coast. There's still snow and stuff out there. But it's time to think about how can we start to really take care of ourselves, what does that mean for our own self-love, our self-expression, our self-confidence? And I've always used style as a tool for self-expression. To me, it's playful and fun and can experiment. And to your point, Martin, I grew up as the odd kid. I was the odd bird. I was the one with short hair. I was like a tomboy, but I also loved playing with Barbies. I was such a stick figure. I had this boyish figure, and I'd wear my brother's hand-me-down jeans. And the fancy girls at school, they'd be like, "You're wearing Sedgefields? Those are boys' jeans. Ha ha ha." And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being made fun of, right? Because I didn't have like the designer jeans. So I grew up that odd kid, but you know what? I went to the beat of my own drum. I I was bullied and pushed around and called names. I don't care to repeat on this.
Me too.
Right? But every step of the way, I was like, but I'm my own person. I can't be a follower. And I just kept going to the beat of my own drum. And that's why it's very fun. I worked in the fashion industry for 18 years. I was a fashion designer for 18 years, worked for different companies. And when I launched my own styling business, Sterl on Style, in 2013, this was my time to just be like, I can create my business, I can create my clients, I can create my world the way I see it. And I'm going to be 49 in March. And I almost feel like I'm going through my own rebirth and renaissance
Yeah.
coming off this lockdown and COVID. Like you said, it forced us to go inside, face our darkness, face those dark nights of the soul. But every step of the way, it was like, what are we missing out? What haven't we done? And life is too short. Like, we need to live our lives fully expressed and give ourselves permission to. And what better way to live your life fully expressed than through your style and how you express yourself?
I want to ask you about maybe something I imagine a lot of women struggle with. I know men do sometimes, and they're a little afraid of expressing themselves. We're afraid. I mean, and for us, and from our queer nature, we're afraid of coming across as being too gay,
Yeah.
or or dressing too gay, and because we want to fit in, we want to belong, but we're not really. There's a gap, there's a disconnect, there's a fear. How do you guide I would imagine, women who they've had the hair the same way. It's safe, it's comfortable. No one's really saying, but they're not getting the attention they really want. Let's say, how do you help them walk through that fear, that dark night for them? Because I think that's probably one of the most important things you do, is you're able to guide women into their beauty and essence that they're afraid to claim for themselves.
Yeah, and that's where my approach as a personal stylist, I've heard from my clients, they're like, you're like no personal stylist I've ever known or met. So apparently I do have this magic that I bring to what I do that's not typically, because I'm not a personal shopper. Yes, I shop for women, but it's only after, like you said, we've gone in there and dug out, like, what are those goals? What are those desires? Like, what are those sides of yourself that are going unexpressed? And somehow I just hold the space with no judgment, because, right, when people hear, oh, you're a personal stylist. Oh, how do I look? Oh my gosh, how do I look? How do I look? It's like, you should be asking yourself that all the time, not just when you're, when there's a personal stylist there.
I'm going to hire a personal stylist when I look like they'll think I look good enough.
Right. But for me, there's no judgment. I'm not judging people for how they look. What I do is I ask the questions because I want to see the potential inside on the outside. I want to see that potential. I want to see those facets that are being suppressed so that they can be fully expressed. So I go through a methodology of my questionnaire. I also do some vision boarding where we actually page through magazines, or I use Pinterest to clip ideas. But I take women through a questionnaire, and it really is about their desires, the other sides of themselves. And what I notice is there's kind of these two schools of women or two schools of clients. The ones that work in corporate, law, finance, right? These very traditional corporate roles. And there's this, oh gosh, I need to dress for corporate and fit in because that's a formula.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had one woman, oh my, I was like, there's life beyond the Navy suit, honey. Like, she was up for promotion at work. She was on track to be partner of her accounting firm. And the other partner, who was also a woman, pulled her aside and was like, I know you're on track for partner, but I just want to ask, like, are you okay? You're showing up to work looking a little tired, looking a little disheveled. And finally, she let her guard down. She's like, I'm going through a bad divorce. I got two girls I'm putting through college. So all like what women do is they focus on everyone and everything else outside themselves. Is the husband okay? Is the wife okay? Is the partner okay? Are the children okay? Are my clients okay? Until like there's nothing left for the woman, right? And they're just putting on that suit, that armor, that uniform. When I first worked with a client, they're like, I just want a uniform. And I'm like, you're not going into the army. Like, you're not a UPS postal service. I call it a fashion formula. So it's getting to know that woman and like outside of that role, outside of the financial advisor, the law, who are you? Like, what's that personality? Are you the humorous one? Are you the serious one? Are you the, smart one? There's ways to bring those cues into our style. And I remember working with this one woman. She's the one on track to partner. We put a red dress on her and leopard heel pumps in the fitting room. She spun around, looked at herself in the mirror. I'm not kidding. She did a little, she probably hadn't looked at herself in the mirror for like a year.
She hadn't loved herself.
Love.
That's the issue.
Love.
It is all about self-love. I mean, I would say all the work that we do, shadow work, is really about, it's the belief we're not lovable. And we have to make partner, we have to do this. And if I dress this way, it might hurt my chances of fitting in so I can succeed and make money. It is, and so I know I run into this problem all the time. This is really what shadow work's all about. It's like, what is that lie we make up about ourselves? It's always some version of I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. It's always something like that. So if we can find ways to go in and find ourselves to dismantle that lie. And one of the ways that I'm hearing from you, which is so exciting, is you say, like, this woman, she had this transformational experience simply by putting us, yes, I am lovable, I'm good enough, I'm brilliant, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy. It doesn't matter what I do.
Yes,
and that's the way to walk into the world with confidence and self-esteem, with your head high, knowing you're valuable and you're worthy and you've got a contribution just because you're alive.
Yes. Yes. That value, that self-love. And what I notice often that happens in women, especially in corporate world, right? Again, that focuses on everyone and everything outside of themselves to go, do, achieve. So there's all these roles we have, right? Mother, daughter, wife, caretaker, worker. But I'm like, what else is in there? The dancer, the opera singer, the artist, the yoga instructor, right? There's all these other facets of ourselves that get kind of shut down to fit in. So some of my favorite clients to style are those women that I get beyond the Navy suit and wearing color and print. But also clients like you and me, we're the name and face of our own brand. We're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, and we get to show up as the name and face of our own brands. And by using our style, absolutely, we are showing our value. We're showing that we're the expert. We're showing the world who and how we are, and we can get a little more creative than that. And you know what, Martin? Thank goodness we're moving into this era where we need to feel more free to express ourselves, despite it's just fear when people don't see people that look like us or are different skin tone or different hair color or different gender identities. There's this fear of the unknown. Oh, you don't look like me, or you don't act like me. There's that fear, and it's time for us to just anchor into love.
Anchor into,
Love,
that's exactly it.
acceptance, and it starts with self-acceptance,
Mhm.
accepting all there is, and that conditioning that we got as children about, oh, you're bad, or you're other, or you're different. My mantra is, what makes you different makes you memorable.
Right.
And the look of leadership is changing. You've got someone like a Malala who is bringing education to women, in her part of the world, author book with her traditional head wrap, right? You have the beautiful poet laureate who spoke at the inauguration
Wasn't she fabulous?
with her gorgeous braids, those
Oh my God,
traditional. She was
changed
in
the
a more
world.
modern garment, but her hair and her braids was indicative of, her heritage, her African American
Right.
heritage.
And what
So
about our new vice president?
yes, I'm
Wow.
so.
She is such an expression of love, isn't she?
She is. She's this perfect blend of, she knows her stuff, she has her law degree, she has the experience, she takes no BS, yet she brings joy to it. She laughs, she dances, she knows when to, be serious, but she has this joie de vivre. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Martin. It's about owning our value just because we have value, just because we're alive, giving ourselves permission to accept all sides of ourselves, right? Giving ourselves permission, acceptance, and then not being afraid to, when other people go, oh, you're this or you're that, to just say, okay, well, but I am, and this is how I am, and what you're saying doesn't affect me, right? Just owning that.
Right, absolutely. It's just it's a wonderful it's this and I would say another thing about what we're moving into, and it is the age of the Aquarius. It is the age of the woman, and I want to talk about just a second before we meditate about the divine feminine that's coming alive, and that's not about gender. As you know, the name of my creative spirit, my spirit is Joy, the wise woman. I tapped into her just before I got on here because I needed to ground myself with her presence. Say it's going to be okay, Martin. You're going to go in there and be fine. I mean, I still have my own little stuff. We all do, and I have to connect with her and stuff. And what that means to me was why what I'm hearing from you too is that we're moving from a world of me, which is a very masculine, dominating, controlling world of toxicity. It's all about me. It's about to a world of we, a world of caring, a world of nurturing, where it's actually powerful to be vulnerable and care. I mean, that's why I think someone like why President Biden and Vice President Harris, because they express empathy and they express compassion and they're transparent and they're competent. All those qualities that make for a really good leader, because we want to follow people who care about us.
Yes.
Whatever we're doing, we want to follow people and we want to be in relation with people who care about themselves.
Yes.
And care about, meaning self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. It's possible to lead with love. It's possible to lead with compassion. It's possible to lead with empathy. I think we're seeing that leading by force and fear is not sustainable.
It's
And
toxic. It's just toxic. I mean,
yes,
look at what we have been through. I mean, it certainly did come to a head. I call it, this is going to sound a little gross, but to me, it was the big boil. The big turmoil brought all the crap to the top with it, and it was painful.
Yeah.
When it bursts the boil on your body, it hurts. But doesn't it feel good when it's gone?
Yeah.
And we still got some more coming out, right? But you know what? That old dominant white male, I'm gonna control you world, that is over.
Yeah. And what I'm proud and impressed by are many of those, men in those traditional white male roles, how many of them stood up and said, who are Republicans, identify and said, you know what, this isn't the way to lead. This isn't right. So, and it's
Yeah,
okay. And I agree with you that divine feminine, I think even more so as women, we're given more permission to voice our feelings, heal and nurture, but it's time for all of us to give men permission,
exactly.
especially very hetero identified men, permission
Exactly.
to heal from
Exactly.
their own wounds, heal from their own shame. And how do we reach the youth and the next generation of boys and teenagers? How are they being brought up? Right? That conditioning and behavior in fraternities and hazing and phasing. Just stop it. Let boys be boys. Let men be men. And you can be balanced and loving
Oh,
and compassionate
bring it
and
all in,
strong
you
and be the
always
protector
bring
and
in
the
the heart.
provider.
Always bring in the heart, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
it's time to, right, bring that divine feminine into healing ourselves, each other, men, women, non-binary, however you identify yourself, right?
Exactly.
It's that
We all
love.
have we all have that loving, nurturing. That's where our power is, by the way. That is what
Yeah.
makes us powerful. I mean, look at I'm running out of time, but look at what Stacey Abrams has done, for example.
Yes.
And I really think because your women have been sitting on the sidelines watching men destroy the planet for so long that
Yeah.
you women, I'm really happy because you're leading us out of this mess, really, and I'm grateful for that. And
Yeah.
I just joined a new coaching team, and they're both all women. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
love it.
yes. So let's do a little meditation. Let's get into that divine space, and and I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes and invite everybody to just to get comfortable in their seats and sit up tall like a proud, excited human being that you are, and just feel yourself sinking into the chair. Feel your feet on the floor, and just begin to focus on your breathing. Just allow yourself to breathe for a moment. Because the breath is what takes us deeper inside us. We can follow that breath. So let's just take a really nice, big, deep breath deep into the belly. Open up the heart and just let it go. As we let it go, let out all your thoughts, all your beliefs, all your opinions about yourself, about me, about Tanya, about what's right. Let it all go. And just breathe for a moment. Create some space. Create some space for creativity, for love. Take another nice deep breath. You don't have to just take a nice deep relaxing breath in. Take your time, feeling up your lungs, filling up your belly. Find a place in your belly that it might anchor. Find an anchor inside yourself that you can breathe into to anchor you into your body. Let it go. Just one more nice, easy, big, intentional breath to open up the heart, relax your forehead, relax the back of your tongue. I'll give you a little technique. Take the tip of your tongue and rest it on the top of your mouth, just behind your front teeth, and relax your lips and relax your tongue. Just let it be there. And as you're breathing, massage the back of your tongue with the breath, because when our tongue is not vibrating, we're not thinking. When we're thinking, our tongues are vibrating. Then let it say. So with some intention, if you breathe and relax the tongue, and put in the teeth, the tip of your tongue on the teeth and behind your neck, on top of your head. It's just massage, let your breath gently massage your breath, massage your tongue, massage your throat, massage your insides, soften them. You're going to get very still. You're going to hear the bell occasionally. It's going to wake us up from our thinking. Well, the timer was on, but the bell was off. And I just looked down and I said, well, we went over almost a minute. So we meditated today 21 minutes almost. But and I noticed when the bell wasn't going off, and I thought, well, I guess today we're not going to have the bell interval bell because it's not on, and I didn't want to fiddle around with it. So I just let it go. Hold on a second. Somebody's trying to. Somebody's trying to sell me something right now. Somebody sent me a private chat trying to sell me something. Come on.
They're not leading with the heart.
They're not doing that because they care about me. I can tell you that. Or they would not be interrupting my live broadcast with their nonsense.
Exactly.
So just a word that little private chat to distract me was not any way to get my attention, other than to say I don't want to get anywhere near you because you care more about you than you do about me. That was the message I got. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
So wow, this has been such a joy. There's a little note from Audrey there. This has been such a joy. Audrey, thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to just make a quick note, shout out to my gay, transgender, and bisexual brothers out there. We're now broadcasting in that Facebook group. I created a new Facebook group called Financial Mystics. Called the Financial Heart Space for Gay, Transgender, and Bisexual Men, specifically so we can do our shadow work when it comes to money. And you might say, well, what in the world is shadow work? Well, shadow work is looking at how we give up our power to other things outside ourselves. And money is one of the biggest ones we do. It's how it shows up. It could be imposter syndrome. It could be overworking, all sorts of things. So I've created a space specifically for us to do our work. So join us and and everything is going to be free in that space, by the way. It's all about how I can give back and how I can help others and help my brothers and sisters get out of that scarcity mindset and into the abundance that we all deserve and all of. So please join us over there. And Tanya, thank you so much. And how do we get in touch with you, Tanya? If somebody, and let me ask you this question. I know you work with women, but I know that a lot of my GBTQ brothers like to look stylish too. Do you ever work with men?
So the interesting thing is I was a fashion designer for 18 years in the area of women's wear. So my area of expertise is more women's wear, shoes, bras, jewelry. There's so much that goes into it. But what I will say is I work with women and people who identify as female. So I'm completely open to working with trans.
Wow.
One of my dear best friends, I was with her before, during, and after her transition, and I was a pivotal part of her accepting herself as being identified as a trans woman.
Wow.
So, yeah, women and female identified people.
Okay, thank you for that. And so how would women and trans women get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can contact me through my website, sterlonstyle.com. You can book a discovery call. I also have a free webinar coming up Wednesday, February 10th. And I have a brand new online group program so that anyone from across the country, let alone the world, can be a part of it. I call the program Rediscover Yourself with Style. And we meet once a week for 6 weeks. On a Monday evening, I have 4 women in the group right now. In week 3, they were already going through transformations. And it is what it sounds like. Rediscover yourself with style. So you can get the information through connecting me through the website, sterlonstyle.com.
Well, great. Thank you so much for that information. And I know there'll probably be some women who will, and if you're watching the replay, which I get when we're watching the replay that I'm live, put your comments in the replay because I'll respond. I want to know what anything that came up for you today, any ahas, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that, anything. Or maybe y'all will you drove me crazy today. All right, whatever you want to tell me what the truth is, and I'll respond. I love to hear from you. So just put your comments in the comment section. So if you'll just stick around for a second, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone and say, may love and prosperity prevail. and I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.